Okay, so the biggest thing we want to talk about today is about angles and their sides. So the longest side is always opposite the largest angle. And the shortest side is always opposite the smallest angle. Well, what exactly does that mean? So according to New Jersey curriculum, you should now be able to take this knowledge check. I don't feel like we're there yet. So let's talk about what this means. So anytime you have a triangle, kind of like we talked about at the beginning of the year, all of your sides can be completely different. So here I've drawn a triangle, okay? And then I'm going to call this triangle A, B, D, okay? Now I'm going to label my sides. So I'm just picking random lengths. So I'll say, oops, I didn't want to do that. I'll say that this side is 8 inches, okay? And this one can be 6 inches, and we'll call this side 4 inches. So essentially what today's lesson is about is to determine which angle will now be the largest based on the length of the side. So the easiest way to look at this is to say, all right, this side right here is my biggest side, right? 8's my biggest number. So directly across from that is angle E. So that means that angle E is going to be my largest angle because it's across from the largest side, okay? If I want to look at what my medium angle is, I go over to my side that's in the middle, so 6. So which angle, hang on 1 second. That's Everly. Yep, no problem. They were both here. Okay, so we got to look at what angle goes with it. So which one is directly across from the 6 when you look at it? Yeah, you guys can just answer. You don't have to raise your hand. So A. So now if we want to talk about what the smallest angle is, we can look right here and say across from that is D. Does that make sense? Okay, so the biggest angle goes with the biggest side and vice versa, which is what this wording right here means, okay? Okay, so we're going to just kind of go through these and determine what we think the answers are and why. So if I'm looking at this very first one, I can call this question 1, if that helps. So we'll call this question 1, okay? So on question 1, based on what we just did, what is, oh, you can't see that angle, can you? 1 second. There we go, now you can see it. So based on this, I guess I could just put a box around it, that might be easier. So we're looking at this one in the green. What is going to be your smallest angle? Yeah, C is your smallest angle. So if I want to put them in order from smallest to greatest, so C is your smallest. What's going to be next? A, because it's across from the 6. And which one's going to be your largest angle? Perfect. Does that kind of make sense what we're trying to get at here? Okay, so now let's look at another one. So we can now look at this one here in the middle, which I can put a box around it for you. So we're looking at this one right here, okay? So if we want to talk about putting this one from largest to greatest, what is going to be, oh, okay, hang on. This adds another element because we have angles, right? And we're used to having sides. So let's talk about what we do when we get angles and need to give sides, okay? So our largest angle is right here. We agree with that? Which really, I could like highlight this whole thing because it's D is 80 degrees. So if we took and we draw a line from this 80 or D all the way across, it's going through this side. So this 80, this D, is across from side EF. So EF is your longest side because it's with your largest angle. Does that make sense? So let's look at the next one on here. So right here, we have E, which is 60. And if I took an arrow and drew it across from this E, it's going to hit this side right here. So this is your second longest side. And then if I wanted to look at it even further, my smallest side is going to be across from the smallest angle. Well, this 40 is our smallest angle. And so if I draw an arrow across, it hits there, which means that DE is our smallest side. Does that make sense? That's a little, the angles is easier if you ask me, because there's a lot more happening here. All right, let's look at, we can box this one in right here. So let's look here, okay? We are missing an angle. How do you find a missing angle? I had a lot of kids like raise their hand in my last class and be like, my computer's messed up, the angle disappeared. Do you know how to find a missing angle? How many degrees is a triangle? Okay, so if a triangle is 180, you can take 180 and subtract out 60 and 20, right? Which leaves you with 100, which this is clearly not drawn to scale, okay? So we're gonna say that this angle is 100, okay? Now we wanna talk about, let's put our sides in order from least to greatest. So we're gonna do least to greatest. So what is gonna be our smallest side? Or here, let's put our angles in order first and then we can do our sides. So what's our smallest angle? H, yep, or it's 20 degrees, right? What's our one in the middle? Which is 60. And what's our biggest angle? I, which is 100. Do we understand that so far? Okay, so now let's look at what's across from things. So if we go to H and we go across, we see what's across from it. GI, so that is your shortest or least side, okay? So we've got GH, or sorry, GI. Okay, now let's go to G. If we go directly across from it, we hit this. So HI is our side that's in the middle. So can you guys tell me which one is our biggest side? Yeah, GH is your biggest one because it's across from that 100. So this right here is all that's the actual answer. The rest of this I wrote to kind of like help get you to the answer, but all it wanted was the sides from least to greatest. Another thing that we notice is between the side and the angle, you've used all three letters, but you've only used them once. So if I is the angle, the other two leftover letters have to be your side. Okay, you can't have an angle of I and the side of I. Like that wouldn't work. All right, let's look at another one. So if we're right here, what is going to be our smallest angle? Is U. Perfect. What's our biggest? S. Is this making sense, guys? I can't really tell because not that many of you are answering, but I'm assuming it is. All right, let's look at this picture right here. We are missing an angle. So first we need to find that angle. What can I do to find that angle? Yep. This is not drawn to scale. So we find our missing angle is 100. So let's put our sides from longest to shortest. Okay, so what is our longest side? Yeah, so JL is our longest side. She knew that because she went from this angle and it hit here, which from J to L is what we see. So we've got JL. What is our medium length side? JK, because you hit here, you go from this 50 and you're hitting this line right here. So it goes from here to here. Okay. Got JK. And what is our shortest side? KL. So you don't have to necessarily write down everything we wrote down on the last question. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay. So what do we know about this triangle right here? Are you going to have two angles that are the same? What two angles? Yeah, M and N. How did she know that those were the two angles that were the same? Well, she said 7 is across from here and this. So these two angles have to be the same. Are they going to be the bigger or the smaller of the angles? Yeah, they're bigger because they go with the 7s. Okay, this 5, this angle is going to be smaller than these ones. What do you know about all of the sides on this one? They're all equal, okay? All the angles are equal, so all the sides would be equal. You can't determine which one's bigger or smaller because they're all the same. All right, I think this is the only one that we have not done yet. So let's look at this and then I'll let you guys practice it yourself. All right, so what is my smallest side on here? Sorry, smallest angle. Smallest angles are, yep. What's your medium? Yep. And then the biggest? P. Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, so let's go on to quizzes. So if you're in class, you're joining this. So, oh, whoa. So if you are physically in class, you're joining the one with the blue box around it. And if you are watching this on Zoom, you're joining this one that's not opening. And if you're watching this on Zoom, you are going to the one that I just pulled up. So if you're in class, you're joining the blue box. If you're on Zoom, you're joining the pink box. So in class, blue box, Zoom, pink box. If you're on Zoom, I'm going to pause this video and I'll restart when I go over this. So you're doing this on your own. Okay, so we want the sides from smallest to largest. So if we look at this, we have 6 is our smallest side. Sorry, it wants angles. So our smallest angle is going to be R. And continuing on with that, the one in the middle. Oh, hang on. I better change the color here. The one in the middle. Oh, my goodness sakes. We have R. And then the one, oh, my goodness sakes. Oh, good job, guys. Okay, so smallest is going to be R. The middle will be P. And then we have Q if you're looking from smallest to largest. This next one deals with sides, so I'll go into more detail with this one. It wants the sides from smallest to largest. So our smallest side is going to be this one. So we can go ahead and look, and directly across from it is going to be RT, which I can highlight for you if that helps. RT. So that is our smallest side. Then we need the middle side. So our middle side is going to be the 60. So we can take the arrow and draw it from there and hit right here, which means RS is going to be the middle. And then our largest side, which I'm not going to totally highlight all of this for you, it's going to be across from the 70. So it's ST. Does that make more sense? Okay. Looking at this next one, it wants largest to smallest. So our largest side is going to be 9. So across from that 9 is the R. So R is going to be our largest angle, and followed by S and then T. Because looking at across, we have across from the 9 is R, across from the 6 is S, and across from the 5 is T, which is how we came up with RST. This one is missing an angle, so you're going to have to do some math here to find it. So we take 180 minus 90 minus 35, and you find that this missing angle is 55 degrees. Once you know that, then you are able to talk about which side is the largest. And first we can start by writing down the angle. So we have K, which is 90, is the largest. And then next we have J, which is 55. And then we have H, which is 35. I'm just trying this another way because maybe that will help. So across from the K, when we move it, we hit JH, which means that that is our longest side. Then if we want to look across from the J, we see KH right here because it's across from that. So that means that that is our second longest side. And then across from H, all we have left is KJ or JK, doesn't matter. And so that is going to be our shortest of the sides. Questions on that? Okay, this one wants the largest angle in PQR. So the largest angle is going to be across from the biggest side. So our biggest side is 57. So that means our largest angle is this one right here, which is Q. This one wants our largest side. So we can start with our largest angle, which is this 62. So across from it, we hit this side, which is side DB, which is the largest side. Next, we need to order the sides from least to greatest, but the first thing is that we're missing an angle. So you have to take 180 minus 48 minus 87, and you find that missing angle is 45. So the sides in order from least to greatest. So we can first start by just putting the angles in order from least to greatest. So we have 45, which is V. And then you have 48, which is D. And 87, which is E. So we need to go across from it. So across from V, we see DE. So DE is our smallest. Across from D, we see VE. So VE is going to be in the middle. Across from that 87, we get DV. Okay. Questions on that? This one was pretty difficult to see up here. So we went the sides from longest to shortest. Let me zoom in on it. So the first thing we need to figure out is we need to figure out what that missing angle is. So we can take 180 minus 54 minus 64, and you're left with 62. Okay. So that means longest to shortest. So our biggest number right here is Rector Street. Do you see that? So that means that our answers could be either this one or this one at this point. Then let's go to the next one. So the next one across from the 62 is Pine, which means that it has to be this answer by process of elimination because it's the only one that has the first two in order. If you look further, you notice that 54 is across from Taylor Street, which means it's the smallest, so that would be the correct way. So it's the same thing, they just named the streets instead of having numbers on them. This next question, where would the largest angle of the triangle be located? The largest angle is across from the longest side. This question's about the same. The longest side is across from the longest angle, which this is kind of what we started class off with right here. This is an old question. What is an angle bisector? An angle bisector splits any angle in half. And this picture is an example of an angle bisector, which is being cut in half. All right. So now you can go ahead and there is a knowledge check. It is called angle inequalities in your Google Classroom. So hop on there and you're doing the angle inequalities knowledge check.